So, I suppose God works in mysterious ways, because today I woke up and I decided to stream very late. And because I've been having like a lot of stuff going on, personal life outside of this, just adult stuff, nothing too serious. Well, of course, at the time of me recording this, it's 6:30 my time. And I got some information from a very good friend of mine on TikTok. It's Curly Daddy 101, that a friend of his knows the church that John Bell works at. And apparently, not only is he an office and finance manager, but he works very closely with the children there. And the reason that I say that, God must be working in, very mysterious ways is because obviously that motivated me to get on. But I was able to get on now and talk about it immediately, instead of being like midstream and being all jarred up. Because when I found that out, I did some research for myself, and I found the place. Now, I was told that he lives in, I believe it's called Moorhead, Minnesota. Here's the map. This is the church. This is Moorhead. So he lives right on the border, I'm assuming, somewhere. And I don't really care where he lives. What I'm more interested in is the fact that he works at a church with young children. And it has come out as very, very credible and serious accusations that he's been trying to groom young boys, and even new ones, of him actually sending in very inappropriate pictures to a 14-year-old boy. So we have a lot of the context for this in a previous video that's already on YouTube. You could look it up. Just pop a good Jorobe if you want to get the information. But this is to specifically talk about this and the update with him. So first of all, this is the church that he works at. I know this because I called the church that he works at, and I asked him if he works there. They said yes. I told them that there were very serious and credible allegations about his inappropriate interactions with children. They immediately hung up after they said, "Oh, thank you," and hung up. So I don't know if they thought it was some kind of a prank call. What I do know is that I generally don't condone this kind of stuff, but this is something that genuinely makes me afraid. This makes me genuinely afraid for the children. Genuinely. This isn't an exaggeration. I'm frustrated, and I'm afraid for these kids. For some people, it's just too much. We have somebody who was using his platform on TikTok to talk to children, allegedly. Very credible. Very, very credible. I'm going to give you more information in a bit. But I first want to show you that this is the phone number and this is the email. And I think that this is wildly important. It's just very important. It's a very important thing. This isn't somebody who should be talking. This isn't somebody who should be in charge of children in any capacity. And I'm not going to... And part of me is also afraid because these churches in general seem to have a history of suppressing or downplaying the pedophilic behavior from the people inside of the church. And so this part genuinely makes me afraid that not only is he working with kids, but nobody's going to stop it. This is a very serious situation. This is a very, very serious situation. I suppose I'll read this, though. On June 4th, St. John's welcomed John Bell as the new office and finance manager. He's taken over for Jackie, Jabbins, who retired at the end of June. John Bell, originally from Ham Lake, Minnesota, moved to Moorhead in 2011 when he attended Concordia College, graduating in 2015. John has since worked in Concordia College's Office of Ministry for the campus pastor at the Northwestern Minnesota Snoid, I think it's how you say it, office for Bishop Larry Warrable, I don't know, Warrable, whatever, and at Lutheran Church of the Good Shepherd in Moorhead. Outside of his work, St. John's, he is a private music teacher with over a dozen students. I know that he teaches piano, so then we already have another red flag. So this is somebody who invites young people into his home. This is another red flag. In flute and piano, John also enjoys going to movies with his friends during the evenings and traveling to Colorado. Why is this reading like a dating website? I'm not surprised. Where many of his friends attend graduate school. Currently, John is on the Northwestern Minnesota Snoid Council as an At large member. At large member is, I couldn't have written that better. He's definitely at large. And up until recently was the activities chair for Northern Sky District of the Boy Scouts of America. Now, I'm an Eagle Scout, for many of you who know, and one of the most disgusting things about the Boy Scouts is that there are people who abuse their positions of power to abuse young boys. And while we can't prove he's doing that, with all the allegations about him, grooming young boys and sending them pictures of his genitals, this makes me very afraid and frustrated and angry. Is it Synoid? Okay, well, that's fine. Couldn't have checked any more stereotypical boxes, and I'm not making that as like a joke. Like, this is too much. When Jorobe and I first started interacting on TikTok over the summer, I never, honestly, this is my own ignorance, I suppose, I never labeled this guy as some kind of a predator. I thought that he was just like an overly sensitive, like politically correct guy. I genuinely thought that he was like a decent person that was just like, he was way too sensitive. And when these young people reached out to me and other content creators like I Speak and Freak the Gemini and Curly Daddy, my first thought was I'm going to, of course, listen to their claims. But the word grooming is always thrown around so much, and it's like, I want to make sure that this is what it is. And of course, when I started interacting, I started talking to them, and then very quickly their story was incredibly genuine, and it was so indicative of grooming, and I was surprised. And then that came out, and I thought that was the worst of it, where he was trying to get 17-year-olds to fuck them when he was 18, right when they turned 18 years old, which is grooming, and it's showing BDSM tests to fucking kids and having him send the results. That was bad enough. Then, of course, the next day, late last night, of course, we come to these new allegations where he was sending actual pictures of his penis to 14-year-olds. And I was like, wow, this is disgusting, right? And then add that on to somebody else who reached out to me, who's actually a friend of Jorobe's, talked to me about this situation. And Jorobe basically said, oh, well, I'm innocent, but nobody's ever going to believe me, so I'm not going to bother releasing the proof. That's what he had told this individual. An individual that, while that person was of age, he would constantly manipulate that person to try to get them to promote his platform when Jorobe was still a small content creator. Which just, of course, the manipulation far exceeds just when it comes to children. It just seems to be a manipulative personality. And then, of course, I get a text message today from Curly Daddy that a friend of his knows that he's a pastor at a church, and then I go to find that he's a pastor at church working for children. This is vulnerable children at church, and churches historically cover up and downplay predatory actions of some of their, we'll say, employees, for lack of a better term. And so you have a bunch of kids that he's working with that he could potentially be harming that we don't even know about. This is really bad. This is really bad. This is very upsetting. And this is probably the most upset that I've been on any of these things. The Gemini official, this somehow, this matches how upset I was with the Gemini official situation. But I don't know, with the amount of scope, this could be even worse, because if we can't stop this, what are we going to do? Deplatforming doesn't seem to solve the problem. And he deplatformed himself, right? He first went private on both of his accounts. Then he lost a bunch of followers, so he deactivated his accounts. Now, deactivating in general is a good thing. It means he can't utilize his platform anymore. It means he can't utilize his platform anymore unless he decides to reactivate. This is their Facebook page, in case any of you guys care to use their Facebook page. So, Give me 2 seconds here. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, just a reminder of this is what this is. Now, I mean, let's get into the allegations of this kid. So, Jesus Christ, it just always keeps to get worse. All right. Yeah, that should be fine. That should be good. Okay, so I got some messages here, from the alleged 14-year-old, and let's see if these are any different. Okay, it's actually, this is the second one. This is the first message. Okay. So, as you can see at the top here, this is a screenshot Jorobe sent. I do have the screenshot. I will be showing you guys. I'm just going to have to censor it. But let me read through this. This goes to a particular content creator who actually, their video blew up more than anybody else's, thankfully. And I believe has been, like, probably...
this video will be about one of the biggest hypocrites I have ever...
Probably like one of the biggest reasons why Jorobe is getting taken at, like, this. Look at this, has a lot of views, and this is fantastic, honestly. 2.2 million. Because one of the things I was afraid of was that it wasn't going to blow up, and awareness wasn't going to be raised, and thankfully we have this video here. And so this is the guy here. This is who sent me these screenshots. Because somebody sent this to them. And this is what it says. Hey, I saw your video and I thought I should come out and say my experience. I ran a small fan account for Jorobe on Instagram, and he even at one point followed me. I slid up on his stories from time to time, and he eventually asked me for my Snapchat. I was so excited because he told me no one else had his Snapchat, and it made me promise to not give it to anyone or to not tell anyone that what we talk about. Well, that's really fucked up. Because not only did he lie and say that nobody else has a Snapchat, despite the fact that he seemed to have a ton of people on his Snapchat, but he also said don't lie about it. This is a very, very important situation here. This is something that's very, very important to talk about, because this shows that he has absolutely no problem leveraging his power as anything. This is as a content creator here, but he has no problem leveraging his power, his position of power, to get people to not talk. And this is what scares me about him working for a church. Everything was fine for a while, but conversations got really weird, and he sent me a lot of dirtier pictures. After he sent me the first, he would just snap me every day showing me his dick, even when we would have normal conversation. He said he would handcuff me to his bed, and I asked if I was a bottom. Luckily, because I'm not as naive as a lot of people my age, I immediately started screenshotting most of these pictures without him knowing, using a hack. I'm assuming this was back when you could do that on Snapchat. I was also 14 at the time. He didn't even bother to ask how old I was or for any form of identification. This is also very important. I know a lot of younger people who may be watching this can fall for the excuse of, well, I don't know the age. You can fall for that excuse when you're like 20 years old, trying to eyeball how old somebody is, and you mistakenly talk to somebody who's like 16 or even 15, which is still disgusting, but you're still a dumb kid. When you're 27 years old, you don't get the I didn't ask the age excuse. It's the first question that you ask, and especially as a large content creator, you have to ask. And if somebody looks even remotely young, you have to ask for identification. It is absolutely imperative. And Jorobe simply didn't. The only reason you don't ask for identification is if you don't want to know somebody's age. That's the only reason you don't ask for age. You always ask for age. You should be doing it regardless. And if somebody says no, that's a red flag to not engage with them. Of course, he didn't ask for the age, though. Now, I'm going to assume, because Jorobe seems to be incredibly manipulative and methodical, that Jorobe intentionally didn't ask for age so that he felt he had plausible deniability. And this is a very interesting thing somebody said in chat. Most groomers make it so that people they're grooming feel special or mature, and that's exactly what he's doing. And I couldn't agree with you more. But he would call me a baby a lot and would try to force... I don't know what the rest is, but anyway, we talked about it a lot. Everything was fine for a while, but conversations got really weird. And he called baby a lot, so apparently he has some kind of a fetish for talking to young people. Everything was fine for a while. Well, it also kind of suggests to me that he knew that the person was young. I mean, Jesus Christ. Everything was fine for a while, but conversations got really weird, and he sent me a lot of dirty pictures. After he sent me the first one, he would just snap me. Okay, we saw that. 14. Okay, we call me baby a lot and will try to force me to call him daddy. I'm sending you this and the screenshots and nothing else. I don't want to be in the videos or talk about it any further. You can send this to any of your friends or anyone else be able to help or go further the internet, but I don't want to speak further on it anymore. But I don't want to speak about it any further. Please believe me. Now, we have the screenshot. I'm going to reiterate that we can't prove that this interaction happened, but considering how credible all this evidence is, and the fact that he has these pictures, the fact that Jorobe refused to talk about it. Again, let me just reiterate that Jorobe responded in private to his friend who reached out to me. And that friend said that Jorobe said that he was innocent and that you can't believe anything that's going on. And he has the evidence to exonerate himself, but nobody would listen anyway. So what's the point? Manipulative tactic. It's a manipulative tactic, and he's playing the victim. Okay, now, of course, I'm going to have to do a back and forth this. We have some pictures. Let's start with the picture that they sent. Now, I have to censor these pictures, of course, a bit because, you know, he's nude, or semi-nude, but let's get this going. So, here's the first picture. That's the picture that we saw in the screenshot. This is very clearly his face right here. He's in a pair of boxers where you can see his print through the boxers. Excuse me. You can see his print through the boxers. We'll, of course, censor it with the phone number and email of this job where he works with children. Okay, next picture. Most of these are of his bulge. Most of these are pictures of him with his bulge out. But we'll show them anyway, even though I have to censor most of it. That's him saying, yeah, with his bulge out, showing that to somebody, allegedly 14-year-old. Then we have another picture. Oh, what could it possibly be? Well, probably his bulge. His bulge picture, of course. Let's censor that before we show it. With the text, damn, this underwear makes my dick look good. Maybe you should clean your fucking room, Jorobe. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. I think it might actually be everything. And then, of course, there's a picture of his actual... this is a picture here of him grabbing his genitalia and saying, now I fall asleep. And his whole penis is out. So, yeah. There you go. It's everything we got from Jorobe. Everything we got from Jorobe. Yeah, honestly, this might be worse than EDP.